Yo, 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 welcome back to the DoPL Arcade. It's always nice to see our regulars. And to our new gamers, welcome. Make yourselves at home. Don't worry about tokens today, it's on the house. But do please make sure to dry your shoes down on the rug there, as it is, for the first time in a long time in Los Angeles, raining at the time of this recording. I'm Ray, I press start, and I'm ready to go. As always, he's here and feeling right at home in this weather. He grew up in the woods. Say hi to TDK. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. What's up, guys? I feel great in this weather. I'm ready to fire up the Dreamcast and get some snacks going. Tokens on us today, Ray. That's pretty cool. Could you imagine if you were a kid and you walked into an arcade and someone was like, hey, tokens on me today?
Whew. You know, it's been a good couple of weeks. And speaking of this weather, TDK, we actually got a guest from across the pond. Today's guest is on a quest to solve the age-old dilemma. What game should I play next? I'm personally one Resident Evil Requiem session away from having to ask that question myself all over again. But fear not, there's a solution that will afford you less time choosing and more time playing. Questly is an all-in-one mobile hub for gamers from all walks of life to build a community, share lists, and discover games. To chat more about Questly today, we have James here. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you're doing well.
I'm really excited, man. I was talking to TDK recently about Discogs.
Discogs is, I'm a huge record guy. I think it's pretty common. I'm sure you know what it is because you're in this business. But give the layman gamer out there an idea of what Questly is and what the pitch is. And then I would love to take it back and hear the whole origin story.
I'm glad you asked. So I'll skip the origin for now because there is quite the origin to it. Questly is every game, every platform, every era, everything you have ever imagined, everything anyone has ever played in one app. There's so much noise in games today. There's so many platforms. You know, you could be a Switch gamer and you'll never hear about a game that's on Xbox. You'll never hear about that exclusive on PlayStation. The way that we speak about games is also so fragmented. We've got people on this side of Reddit talking. We've got people on that side of Steam talking. Questly is an all-in-one hub, all in the palm of your hands. We want to bring everyone together, no matter what type of gamer you are. From the most casual to the most hardcore, we're bringing every gamer together on one app. We want gamers to be able to discover games, but we want them to be able to discuss and share their thoughts and opinions. This isn't just a case of you go on the app and you find your game and then that's it done, you put the app down. Maybe you've got a really creative list of like games that I play on a rainy day. That's a super basic list. You could get way more creative with it. We want to bring everyone together. Like what you were saying about Discogs, and you know, my partner is super into Letterboxd. The exact same thing. I remember seeing her on her Letterboxd and she'd be uploading it to social media to share with her friends. And I was like, why doesn't something like this exist for games? I started looking into apps and I was like, this doesn't exist. There is such a gap here. Me and my buddy Lewis can't make it today, but if we want to rehash this at some point, I'll definitely be able to bring him on. But we spoke about this at length for months, and you know, that way you keep talking about an idea and then eventually you're like, why don't we just do it? And that led us to Questly. Every game, every era, every platform, all in one place. And we want it to be, you know, an app that's super friendly. I know you guys have probably went on these clunky review sites with a million ads all over it, and you don't know what you're reading, which is someone's paid opinion and what's an actual real opinion. Scratch all the noise. You just want a super clean interface that you can just figure out exactly what you want to play, figure out exactly who your community is. It's something that blows my mind that it doesn't exist, and now I'm here waving the Scottish flag and trying to spread the news.
No, man, I think the community aspect that you're talking about is what excites me most. Because, of course, Discogs, Letterboxd, they both do a different thing. But my favorite part about both of those platforms is really the engagement and like the friendships I make and the opinions. And of course, discovery is a big part of it. An album I had never heard of. Oh, if you love this, you're going to love that. A movie that you've never heard of. There's a democratization that happens in those spaces because it's not all paid opinion, because it's just hundreds of thousands of people from around the world, millions of people. And there's this kind of like, wow, just because a critic said X, Y, or Z about this, if a million people who love what I love this, I'm going to check it out. And then you maybe find some friends. That part of what you're doing, I think, is really needed in gaming.
Don't even get me started on the likes of Metacritic. Have
Sure.
you ever
Yeah,
seen these reviews where it's clear
totally.
that the person hasn't even played the game and that they've just read someone else's review and typed up their own little review based on that? You know,
100%.
like everyone is on the app wants to treat every person with an equal standing. If your review is helpful, funny, you know, it will rise to the top of that game's page. You don't have to pay for something like that to happen. We also want to treat things like modern and retro because you see a lot of hype around like modern games. But there's like retro classics that deserve just as much hype. So every person should have equal footing within the app, but then every game should have equal footing within the app, be it from an indie developer or from a AAA publisher.
Yeah, we've been having
Yeah.
this conversation a lot lately, Ray. You know, like Craig last week was talking to us about go backwards. Games are still incredible from other generations. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to have a brand new game every time you sit down to play.
A good game is a good game is a good game. It doesn't matter what gen it came from, if it's new or if it's old. If it's good, shout it out and recommend it to others who haven't played it and get those gears spinning.
I don't think any of my top 10 games are from the last 10 years.
I want to hear your top 10 games, but before we get there, why don't you take us back? You know, Ray and I are always asking our friends and our guests on here and just talking to each other. Where did you play games as a kid? Did you have to share the controller with your brother? What snacks were you eating? What games were you playing? Because we're both West Coast kids. What your experience was in Scotland? I have a feeling it probably wasn't that different.
I hope not, because I think being from a totally different era before the internet growing up, I'd like to think we all had quite a shared experience, something that feels very unique to yourself, but then you realize, wow, like it's not that unique, but in a good way. Yeah, I grew up with an older brother, so I'm 31. My brother's, you know, mid to late 30s. Sorry, I can't remember the exact age, but he's getting up there. Sharing a room with my brother meant that whatever he said was going, he dictated the consoles we had. He dictated the games we were playing. I remember getting frustrated about this when I was like 7 years old, but then I realized, well, look, I didn't know any better, and he was really guiding me. And that wasn't just games, that was across music, that was across games, that was across movies. He was like, "You're gonna like this, let's play it." For instance, in the final campaign mission in Halo 3, and that you had someone driving and you had the person on the back that just had to shoot. I was just the
Yep.
person that just had to shoot. He would do the hard part, and I just had to do the sort of easy part. You know, Mario Kart Double Dash. I was just the person on the back throwing the shell. He was the one driving. But I think my first console to memory would have been a PlayStation 1. That's,
Okay.
you know, where it started for me. Games like Tekken Tag Team Tournament, you
Let's
know,
go.
Crash Bandicoot, the Rayman, the Spyro, the Croc, Metal Gear Solid. You know, I was definitely in over my head, but I had that big brother to guide me because there wasn't an online platform where you could be like, how do I figure out this level? You know, we just had to figure it out. Growing up in that shared room experience, we got a console. We were then fighting over that for turns, and you know, I maybe wanted a shot, then he wanted a shot, and we actually ended up coming up with like an agenda for, you know, on a Friday, I get it between 7 and 9, and then you get it between 9 and 12, like as if we were clocking in for a shift. I really value that now, truthfully. You know, looking back, having an older, somewhat wiser brother who sort of showed me the path and helped me, you know, learn things a lot younger than I probably should have. Probably played a lot of games a lot younger than I should have as well. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 when I was maybe like 9. No, no regrets. Shout out Rockstar. I
No,
actually live really close to Rockstar's head office.
the origins of Questly, where you're curating an experience, you go into this place and you get to help other people find things that are shared loves and shared experiences. That is kind of where you started in gaming. Like your brother did that for you, and now you're
Yeah.
here with Questly doing it for others.
Like a digital schoolyard, or yeah, like a digital big
Yeah.
bro giving you all the tips and like, okay, this is what you got to play, or no, this is what you're going to play. I'm your big brother. You got to play this with me.
With the app, there's lots of different elements in terms of the way that you're going to discover games. Within our Discover tab, as it were, we have the For You section. When you create an account in Questly, the first question it's going to ask you, and it's one of the most important, what platforms do you actually own? Or what platforms are you interested in as well? You don't have to physically own it. Maybe you have the aspiration, I really want to get the Steam Deck, or I really want that Switch 2. I've maybe not got the money yet, but I'd like to see games for it, which might help convince me to buy it.
Hmm.
With that information, your For You tab will then be based on what platforms you own, But then also, Questly really does learn quickly. If you start swiping like the big brother, we are going to learn exactly what you like. I hate to compare it to, dating in terms of, the swipe feature where you're swiping left and
Sure.
right. But we wanted to use something that was synonymous with users. And I felt like that was the best way to do it. The app really listens to how you swipe. I've been using it for months now, and I really mean it. It's scary, the games it suggests to me. It suggests PlayStation 1 games to me that I forgot about. Sidetracking here, but there's this game called Hogs of War. It's a really old school PlayStation 1 game. It's not popular, it's not big. It was like Worms, but in 3D. Maybe a bit of an overstatement. It was definitely
Sure.
2.5D. But I remember playing this when I was younger, and I got served the game on Questly, and I had this moment of like realizing my app had done something. I physically forgot this game existed. The first thing I done, I went onto eBay, I bought it. I've got a little retro corner. It's hooked up there. I've got Hogs of War. It really learns that way. And then the other side of that, like you were saying, I want to make those comparisons to the playground, the school ground. We might call it different things, but we have a sort of tab for the heroes of the community. That's where you guys are going to be suggesting these are the exact games that I think you should play. There's no paid advantages here. The people with the most unique and helpful suggestions rise to the top. And that's just how it should be. You could really find an absolute hidden gem. I know that this game isn't popular, but you need to play this game. You need to play it. We want Discovery to be as fun as the game itself. Discovering the game, I dread it sometimes. It's late at night and I'm scrolling through my Steam library or something, and then I'm watching YouTube videos, stuck in this sort of decision paralysis. I end up watching a YouTube video and going to bed.
The thing you said that I thought was really interesting, I want to have this experience, and I think we've all had it one way or another, but if Questly can bring it to people, that's really cool. This experience that you're talking about of Questly giving you a game that you had forgotten about, and then you basically have this nostalgic bomb, that is this podcast. Like, there's been so many times, Ray and I were talking about something, and I was like, I gotta go to my garage and open that old box, and then I found, like, Cyborg Justice or some weird old game that I had, and I was like, I loved this game, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's terrible, but I remember how it made me feel, you know?
Just to piggyback on the Hogs of War comment that you mentioned, pun intended. Shout out to Lewis. I don't know what wizardry you guys are doing on the back end to have deep cuts like Hogs of War and all these video games in one place. That's just an impressive feat all on its own. So
if I am the heart of Questly, then Lewis is the brain. Lewis is one of the smartest guys I have ever met. This is all done through real calculations. Every game gets scores, and based on those scores and based on what you're swiping on, it knows what to suggest to you. We are pulling data directly from IGDB, which is the Internet Games Database. It's ran by Twitch. If you've ever been on Twitch and you're looking at what game to play, you'll notice that everything has like the correct genre, the correct game title. So we've actually partnered with IGDB. This was like a exciting bit of news last month that we got an official partnership with them. Every single game we have it. Like, I implore you to try and find a game that's not on our app, unless it's some super R-rated something crazy. It should be there. I remember the second that I found a game that I forgot existed, I called them straight away. I was almost crying. I was like, Lewis, you've got no idea what just happened here. You see people opening a Pokemon pack and they pull out the card and they have that, oh my God moment. That's what it was like. Sometimes we all maybe have that one game that really like speaks to our soul, that really resonates with us on a different level, and you maybe not found yours yet. And that's what I want this app to do. I want this app to help you, really explore gaming in a new light. We just need people to get on this app, and once they're on it, I like to hope they would never leave.
Just like Letterboxd, is this the type of thing where I can log every game I've ever played, and then Ray can be like, I want to see what TDK played. And then Ray can be like, oh, TDK played Airblade on PlayStation 2?
Yes, absolutely. One of the first pillars of the app was being able to record your gaming journey through life.
Yeah, that's so fun.
We like to call it our hero's journey. We want to make sure that you're able to record your full journey.
It's going to allow you to find your people. One of the fun things about this podcast is that Ray and I have discovered we've both always been like great friends, and we've both known we were gamers, but we're such different gamers, right? It'd be fun to look at my friends, or even people who aren't my friends yet, and be like, oh wow, that person is very aligned with me, or this person I'm very close to. We have never played the same game. Like we got to find something commonality here.
Ultimately, I wanted something that was going to, serve the community. Take everything else out of the equation. Take money, take this, take that. If I'm able to create a tool that everyone can use, that for me is why I'm doing it. We didn't create this app as a business. We created this app out of passion. We were talking about it for hours and hours and hours, just talking about games and talking about, oh, the app should have this, it should have that, it should do this, it should do that. And before we knew it, we had this crazy app and we're like, whoa, this is crazy. And like we actively use it. It's still, of course, a beta build of the app, but we're using it right now. And, I've never been happier. It means the world to me. If I click on your profile, the first thing I'm going to see is your top 10 games. I'm not going to see like your social medias or this or that. Then if I like want to go a little bit deeper on your profile, I'm going to start to explore your journal, which is every game you've ever played. I'm going to explore the list that you've published. I'm really going to be able to find out a lot about you from a gaming standpoint. We're not trying to create the next social media. I'm sure you could really paint a picture of me by just looking at my Questly profile and be like, wow, this is this guy's top 10 games. This is really
Give us a
interesting,
taste of that. What kind of a gamer are you? Like, you started with PlayStation 1. What are a few of your top 10? Tell us about James the gamer.
We're on your Questly page. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, what are we seeing?
I'm physically on it to kind of talk you through it. You will notice quite a few of my top 10 games are from a nostalgic perspective. There is plenty of modern games, and shout out to modern games. I'm just prefacing this by saying I'm sorry if you like modern games, but none of them are in my top 10. Gaming was just so pure when you were a child. That's when you really felt it, and a lot of my top 10 speak to that. I'm going to say in no particular order because I change my mind all of the time. I've got a lot of old school games like Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
In my top 10.
Perfection. I've also got Abe's Odyssey or Abe's Exodus. This was my graduation from Mario. Slight tangent here, but it leads into another one of my top 10 games. I traded my Pokemon Blue cartridge on the Game Boy for Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. And if you
Banger.
have not played that game, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Because as a child, I was never able to beat that game. I could get to Wario's castle, but I could never finish the castle. It was on this tiered system where there was like 3 levels to the castle. I could never get through it. That for me was my introduction to Mario, and that game deserves to be in my top 10, Mario Land 2. But I then graduated from that to the likes of Abe's Odyssey, Abe's Exodus, because I was like, this is grown up Mario. I really adored those games as well. But if we want to get a little bit more modern, for me, Bioshock could be 1, 2, or 3.
You like all of them equally.
The story within one, and I'd never really at the time played a shooter. Maybe you can't really call that a shooter, but like a shooter like that.
Yeah,
Classic
FPS.
first-person
It's
shooter.
FPS, but yeah, it's like a FPS thriller.
I'd never played something that captivated me so much. I was like sweating. It felt like I was playing a movie. And I think that was one of the first experiences where I felt like I was almost living in a movie. For me at the time, I was like, wow, this is
Same.
next level. If we want to go for a little bit of a deep cut here, there's a game called FTL, which is Faster Than Light. It's on Steam, but you can also get it on your iPad. This is a real-time strategy, top-down space simulator, a game that you could waste hours on. I have bought this game 5 times. I own it on my iPad, I own it on my partner's iPad, I own it on my PC. I would throw money at the developers of this game because it's something that you could really do on a second screen. So, you could be doing something completely different and just coming back and forth to it. So shout out to FTL.
Give us a couple more. Quick fire them.
Yeah, rattle them.
Right, quick fire. Gears of War 1 multiplayer, so just Gears of War 1. Shout out to like Halo 3, Call of Duty 4. They all kind of fit the same bill for me there. When I finally got an Xbox 360 and I finally got fast enough internet to play the Xbox 360 online. So it was Halo 3, it was Gears of War 1, it was Call of Duty 4. Everyone in the schoolyard was talking about it. Yeah, they couldn't wait to get home, but you lived and breathed these games. For me, Gears of War was just unreal. 1v1 snipers on Gridlock. I really appreciate that one. Shout out to Dark Souls. Any of the Soulsborne games could make this list, but I'm going to stick with Dark Souls 1. Yeah, it's just the OG. It's perfect. I just think the way that world exists is just perfection, and the amount of times I died at that game, that in itself was character building. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I would maybe say Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, maybe a little bit basic these days. I know that everyone loves Fallout now, but I remember Fallout 3 when it came out. Relative terms, it wasn't super big. So it wasn't necessarily a game trade, but a friend of mine, he bought Fallout 3, he played it for 10 minutes, and he said, I don't like this game. And he says, do you want to borrow the game to play it? I never gave him it back. And then he never asked about it. So, an accidental sort of circumstance where he just happened to not like a game introduced me to like one of my favorite games. I got so immersed into that game, it was unreal. Shout out Fallout 3. Fallout New Vegas is technically a better story. Either of those two could sit on that totem pole somewhere. Lastly, I'll say shout out Mario 64. I played the DS version. I was from a Catholic school. When you're about 10 years old, you have this thing called your confirmation. Honestly, it's kind of just like it's where you get money, where your family and friends give you money. I bought a Nintendo DS. I've still got that DS and it's so beat up. There's dead pixels everywhere. But shout out to Mario 64. That's another one that will never be bet.
You threw off a couple that might make my top 10 as well. Definitely Mario 64. When you mentioned Gears of War, I actually hadn't considered this one to be a top 10 game until this conversation, but Halo 2 might make my personal top 10, which is like a little bit outside of what I usually play, but what a moment that was for me and my friends. Like I would be just laying in my bed with my headset on, talking to my friends like I was on a phone call for like an hour sometimes. And then we'd go, do you want to go get some food? We'd go to In-N-Out, which is like this California burger joint, sit at In-N-Out and just talk some more about Halo and then go back home and play some more. I remember they had a serious talk with me once at In-N-Out because I refused to use the rocket launcher because I felt like it was cheap. They all sat down with me. They had an intervention. And they were like, Ray.
Even back then, you were like, I'm a better gamer than that.
Speaking on the top 10, how does the top 10 get populated onto your list? Is it just the result of your swiping, or is it something you're actively creating for people to see?
Great question. So, as soon as you create your Questly profile, the first thing it's going to ask you, what's your top 10?
Okay.
We don't want to leave that to be ambiguous. We don't want to try and guess your top 10. No, you tell us exactly when another gamer is going to come onto your profile. That's the first thing they're going to see. So you're really going to be displaying your personality through your top 10 games. So no, we don't leave that up to interpretation. I might change the order, but then also, like what you were saying there with Halo 2, and you're like, you know what? I think that deserves a spot. And then you might knock something off. You know, these things are dynamic. It depends what mood you're in. Are you in a more nostalgic mood for this? I'm sure that a lot of people right now might have games like Baldur's Gate or Clair Obscura in their top 10. Top 10s can change with the seasons, and you should be able to change that whenever you want.
I mean, yeah, especially at the rate that really brilliant games are being output in 2025 and 2026. You'd hope that there's a way to go back and edit it.
And I'm making my top 10 right now as we speak.
Funny.
The whole time you've been telling us, I've just been like, oh, yeah, I got to write that down.
It's funny. I was sitting down yesterday with a buddy who just had his first child. He's a completionist type gamer. He platinums everything. I was talking to him about like how drastically his gaming life is probably going to change. You know, a lot of times in a pinch, yeah, I do go to places like Metacritic because I want, okay, this game got a good score. Cool. But that's not enough. For example, I know it's on a lot of people's top 10s. Balatro, Hades 2. I got those games because the ratings were good, but like I think ultimately it just turns out roguelikes aren't really my jam personally. I kind of fell victim to the high score of the game reviews. It's more to it than just that. It's like the people and the type of gamers that you connect with and the games that they're playing, because I want to play those games. I think what you're doing is such an integral part of my personal kind of selection.
Because in games for a long time, kind of what you're saying, Ray, I would just say to myself, I'll play anything that's a 9 or above, a 90 or above. I'll play any great game. Frankly, the less time I've had for gaming, it's forced me to be like, that's not true. Like, I want to play games that speak to me. I'm sure that this genre is incredible. It's just not for me. And I've kind of even had the idea of, oh, what is my taste within gaming? Because I think a lot of times gaming gets relegated to like, you're a video game person.
Pretty much every game that comes out gets above 80 on Metacritic these days. There's lots of financial incentives behind it, unfortunately,
Hmm.
and it's ruining sort of the credibility of platforms like this. In my personal opinion, I'm not saying that everyone should agree with me. I don't even look at Metacritic at all. Have no interest. I just want to see what real creators and real users are saying about the game. You both mentioned about, finding those hidden gems from what other people are playing. Let's say you stumble upon a list and you're like, I like this guy's vibe. You can click onto his profile and you might see in his top 10 a game you have never heard of from 1992. And you're like, what is this game? You could really go down rabbit holes, and we want that. We want those social rabbit holes where you can follow different creators. We have like a timeline section, so you can see exactly what your friends or your sort of mutuals on the app, what they're actually playing right now. You get the games that are trending, that everyone plays and everyone reviews and everyone talks about, and they're the most highest streamed on Twitch. With all that noise, do you not end up missing those deep cuts? We've only got so much mental bandwidth up here. There's only so much that you can absorb. If all you're seeing is those popular hyped up games all the time, then eventually you might just cave and be like, okay, I'm going to buy it because everyone's talking about it. But there might be another game from an indie developer that's modern, that was released 2 weeks ago, that is exactly your game. You just don't know it. We have a serious problem with discovery in gaming right now. It feels like hype takes over all. Storefronts are just pushing that because ultimately they want to make money. And if they want to make money, they're going to push what's popular. And that's just business 101 with Questly. We don't have a financial incentive with what games are getting pushed. We're going to push the games that real players are playing and real players are reviewing. There's people a lot younger than us that they're really missing out on some absolute hitters. There's too much noise, and you can't tune into everything everywhere all at once, unless you've got Questly, of course, because then it's all in one app. But it's so difficult. You get such a decision fatigue.
That's literally me 2 days ago. I was on my Game Pass Xbox catalog. There's like 7 games I added to the queue. I'm like, yes, 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 I want to play all these games. Okay, I've selected these games, but guess what? I've actively done some of the work, but I still got to pick one of these games. And so if there's something to help me narrow that down even further, that would help me greatly.
2 sections within sort of what we would call the game details page. You're obviously going to be able to see what other people are saying about the game, but we've also embedded Twitch so that you can actually just watch people play it all within the one app. You can see people playing it in real time, because there's a difference between watching a trailer and actually physically watching someone play it.
That's unique to gaming too. Like, you really do need that in the app to be able to see, like, is this something that I'm going to be into?
Because we've partnered with Twitch, we've got that all embedded in.
That's so cool. Just speaking on the gameplay experience, Super Meat Boy 3D is one that, for me, the ratings aren't as high as I think it should be, personally, but that's just my taste, right? It probably has gone under the radar for a lot of gamers because it's not hitting those high marks. But then I downloaded it, I played, I'm like, dude, this is a Ray game. This is like my jam right here, and I love this game. And so if there's a community of people herding me in the direction of Ray games, then I'd be set.
Exactly. And we want people to find what games actually speak to them rather than find what games are popular. Because then that would tear down the current establishment of how gaming works. And it would really allow people to just be finding games that speak to them on that level. Ratings aren't really everything. It's all about the experience. I've played plenty of games that probably got terrible ratings that I love. I know that Hogs of War on the PlayStation 1 got probably terrible ratings. There's plenty of games that I know got bad ratings, but to me, they're amazing. So I don't really trust ratings as much as I trust what people are actually saying about it. If they're passionate enough about a game to leave a review, it's normally because they really liked it or they really hated it.
This whole time, I've just been going through my catalog of games that I've played in my life and thinking, like, what are the most obscure games? Like, I'm excited to use the app because, like, I think it's going to bring me back to, for instance, Army of Two. I'm sure that game didn't get great reviews, but I loved that game so much. What's the most obscure game that you love for each of us?
If you got one off the top of your head, James, I need a moment to let this marinate. Or TDK, if you've got one.
Okay, I mean, so Army of Two's up there. I mentioned earlier Airblade, and Airblade's interesting for me because it was one of those games. I didn't have a PlayStation 2. I didn't get the PlayStation until 3. I don't know, James, do you guys have Toys R Us in Scotland?
We did.
Okay, but do you remember you could go to Toys R Us or like a GameStop and you could play PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 on the little console, right? So when I was still playing Xbox, there was this like Tony Hawk hoverboard game. What did all of us want as kids? We wanted the Back to the Future hoverboard. But I never actually got to play the game. So that was probably, it's on that list of like obscure. I don't know if anyone ever played that, but it felt very important to me.
I'm gonna throw out one that's like mega obscure. Licensed property, which is like so outside of my usual kind of video gaming, but we rented this game over and over again. Blues Brothers on Super Nintendo is
I
a
gotta look this up.
banger.
What do you do? Is it a beat 'em up?
You can play as either Blues Brother and you can do co-op. It's a side scroller. They throw records as their projectiles. Think you collect music notes. The platforming
And the
feels
music
good.
from the movie is in the game?
Yeah,
like, it's
it's
probably
like-
got a banger soundtrack.
I think I remember it having like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, that's the classic song. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because that had James Brown, that had Aretha. That was such a music heavy movie. I wonder if it has all that classic soul.
It's not gonna hit the top 10 or anything, but it's
I
good.
think this is like a live example of what's going to happen on the app because
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that game. And I have a Super Nintendo in the garage and I'm going to go buy Blues Brothers on Super Nintendo. I'm going to play it.
I've got two here. I messaged my brother before the podcast with a screenshot of the game because I was like, was this the game we used to play? And he got back to me and he said, yes, it was. Chippendale's Rescue Rangers.
Oh, hell
Heck yeah.
yes.
My uncle, I believe, had a NES. So this was going back even further. I must have been like 4, 5 years old. The only thing I could remember was it was a squirrel game or chipmunks or whatever they are. I just remember it feeling like a bit like Mario. There was more than one squirrel. I have these strange memories of it still. It's like one of these games that's, I think because it was such an early memory, it's just locked in there for some reason, and I feel like it's very obscure. Before the call, I felt the need to find it, and I did it within the app.
I'm getting the vibe here that you've never seen the show.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because this is a very, very big cartoon in America.
Another great game with great platforming. Had Mario 2 vibes because you could pick up boxes and throw it at enemies. And it was like a little faster than your average Mario game too. So I credit it for that. That's
Also,
so
banger of a theme song.
I always love asking this question, and maybe they're the same, but I'm always curious. When you and your buddies were like getting together to play Smash Brothers, let's say, or Mario Party, what snacks are on deck over in
Totally.
your neck of the woods?
You finally get home, you're like ready to play. And in America, especially in the 90s, it's going to be a lot of cereal with milk, pizza rolls, or like
Bagel
frozen
bites.
terrible food.
To be honest, I feel like we were probably a lot more similar than you think. We definitely had, do you know Pringles?
Yeah.
Or once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah, we had the Pringles, we had the Doritos. In the UK, we get a lot of independent ice cream vans. They're not just for ice cream though. They would do a lot of like 10 pence mixtures. You would get like a little 50 pence, so like 50-cent bag, and it would just be filled with like different little 1 pence sweets or 1 cent sweets. So you
Yeah,
get
like
like
random candies.
yeah, and you get so much variation. That was a big thing in the UK or in Scotland growing up, where you just had a bit of everything. Stuff that was so bad for you. I remember
sure.
this thing that was called a brain liquor. It was like a ball with liquid below it. And when you licked the ball, it was like a very sour liquid, but it like scraped your tongue. So after you would finish a brain liquor, your tongue would be like bleeding. And they sold this to children.
Yeah. I think of where you guys are as being much healthier and much better than America.
No,
Turns out.
no.
Your
Like,
tongues are bleeding out there.
we had a lot of like deep fried, like a lot of chip shops out here, fish and chips.
Sure.
But it wasn't just like fish and chips. You would get like deep fried pizzas. We call it a pizza crunch. So a pizza crunch is where you would take a pizza, you would dip it in batter, and then you would deep fry it in oil. It was the most unhealthy, greasy thing ever, but it was perfect. Back
Wow.
when you were a child, that was maybe our equivalent of a pizza roll, was a pizza crunch. And your parents would give you that. So no, we were not healthier. We found our own ways to be unhealthy
Oh
for
my
sure.
god, yeah, my American stomach is yearning for that.
Yeah, I think we passed the age where we could actually eat that though.
We were the same when it came to soda, Coke, your Fanta. We didn't really get Mountain Dew, which was always a shame for me because I actually do like Mountain Dew. I'll get it every now and then, but it wasn't something that was super popular growing up. We have a drink called Iron Brew. I can't explain it. It's Iron Brew. If someone said, "What does Iron Brew taste like?" It tastes like Iron Brew. And we are one of the only countries in the world where Coca-Cola isn't the top selling soda because Iron Brew is like what controls Scotland. It's the most popular drink here. And
Wow.
it's like bright orange, luminous.
Huh.
It looks like acid almost.
It's
But
your version of Mountain Dew.
There's a local soda shop close to me that like sells sodas from all over the world. I wonder if I can find Iron Brew over there. I hope so. I want to showcase it on the next episode. And
I would be happy to send a case because you need to try it. I'd love to see the reaction. There's like a whole thing around it. So just go on YouTube or something and just type in American tries Iron Brew and you'll see there's lots of people doing it. It's unique.
I mean, we're doing it, TDK. We're definitely doing it.
Let's do it.
James, I think we're going to get ready to say our goodbyes. But before we go, I did prepare a quick little game for us. Per the swipe left, swipe right concept, which is, I think, very intuitive. We're going to do a list of games that are pretty polarizing. And you're going to tell me if you're going to swipe left or swipe right. So we're going to start with our first one. No Man's Sky.
Yes. Only because now with the updates, it's such an immersive game that you can get lost in. Obviously, I would have said no when it came out. It's an amazing game. So, yes, every day.
Yeah, yeah, and a big swipe right for the team working on No Man's Sky for having the wherewithal to stick with it, which is like a very uncommon thing in this day and age.
I don't want to throw specific shade, but there's so many. You can imagine how stressful it must have been for them, and the fact that they stuck with that and actually made the game what they wanted it to be. I respect that. I've got to respect it.
All right, next one is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
No, I do love Zelda as much as the next guy. There's certain games that I really like from Zelda. Without having a full community at my throat, I'm just going to simply say no.
Next one is Starfield.
No, that was the quickest no I've ever said in my life. I am such a huge Bethesda fan. I remember playing the likes of Oblivion when it came out on the 360. You know my love for Fallout. It's really hard to be a Bethesda fan, to be honest. If it's not for the nostalgia crumbs that they throw at us, I wouldn't even support. I'm not a fan of Starfield. That's just going to be real with you there.
There you go. We got Call of Duty, which I have a suspicion where you're swiping, but Call of Duty.
This is going to be, I'm gonna go come right down the middle and just say that it really depends on the game. I hate to come at it as an old head from a nostalgic factor, but Modern Warfare 2, World at War, even Call of Duty 3, Black Ops even, up to a point, Chef's Kiss, it really meant a lot to me and my friends growing up. We played a lot of it. Modern Call of Duty, I think they've tried to Fortnite it too much without getting too much into it. It's just not my jam anymore. I'm also a different type of gamer now. I've matured beyond the shooter. I loved them back in the day. See when you start to introduce celebrity skins to games, and not my jam. So
Yep,
I'm going to say
fair.
a hard midline there.
This one I put in there for TDK. The Last of Us Part 2. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to upset TDK here. I also don't know his opinion. I'm going to say no. I like The Last of Us Part 1. I will say that they're not really my games anyway, but I can appreciate good storytelling and I can appreciate, a good game. I think that it was a similar sort of vibe to the jump from BioShock 1 to BioShock 2. Some of the complaints that people had, I let it slide with BioShock. I don't let it slide with Last of Us. I'll say that. So if you know, then you know.
I would have swiped right on it. I'm a fan, but probably won't play it again, to be honest. Like, it was punishing, emotionally punishing. I love storytelling in any medium, so like I probably would have devoured The Last of Us 1 and 2 as a comic book, as a movie, as an HBO show, whatever. But I'm not going to be replaying some of the most harrowing things I've ever seen in a video game. I did it. It was good. Give me Uncharted. I'll go find a Lost Civilization, and I'll have that feeling over and over again. Man, this has been so fun talking to you, James. I'm really excited about what you're doing. And I'm glad people are out there pushing the community forward. I think this is really needed in gaming.
I just wanted to talk games. Questly should feel like a natural insertion. It is a tool for gamers. and I want to create a tool that people genuinely want to use. I'm also not of the opinion that I know everything. If someone has feedback on ways that we could change it and make it better, we don't have investors, we don't have this, we don't have that, but we want this to be perfect for the community. I listened to you guys on the episode with Craig, and shout out Craig, because that's the reason I heard about the podcast. I really enjoyed the vibe, and I was just like, I just want to talk with these guys. It's clear that all three of us really care about gaming. We're halfway across the world from each other, but so much things we can talk about. This episode could be 4 hours long. I'd love to come back, guys. I do really appreciate the conversation. As things develop, I'd be happy to share more.
We definitely want you back. Whenever you're feeling up for it, we'll be glad to have you back. I love the concept of Questly. I can't wait to use it and find my Hogs of War. I'm looking forward to that moment for myself. James, thank you so much for hanging out with us, talking video games. It was a pleasure, and we can't wait to see where Questly goes.
You know, you're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, signing off from the DoPL Arcade. We want to thank our Doppelgang for hanging out with us. As always, like, subscribe, follow, hit us up in our DMs, send us voice memos. We want to hear your gaming memories too. We'll keep the conversations going. Thanks, everybody. We will see you at the next one. Peace. To learn more about and to support Questly, go to Kickstarter.com and search Questly.